I got asked to do a presentation on the trials and tribulations I've hit in self-publishing to a local writing book club, and I thought I would record it and maybe send it out to some other people. So I'm calling this Self-Publishing Do's and Don'ts, or How to Spend Time and Money Writing Indie. All right, so before you go on, I have some stuff to think about. There's a lot of information here. You shouldn't let yourself be overwhelmed. If it seems like too much, find some piece of it to latch onto it, work on that, and move forward. I do think it's important to work on something. So pick some piece, work on it, and get that down and move on to something else. Don't necessarily heed my advice. I have so far only lost money on fighting. So read what I've tried, figure out how to do it better. Also figure out what works for you because how you spend your time, what kinds of things you like to do, what energizes you, it's important. So figure out what works and go at it that way. And lastly, if you're just trying to make money, there's probably better routes than trying to do indie writing. Um, I think one of the more successful things is to try and sell advice or expertise. So work on the things you want to work on, develop that expertise, and then sell that. So what am I going to do in this presentation? I'm going to start by talking about where you should have a presence, what you should do as you approach release day. I'm talk about covers, editing, blurbs, and ads, and then building momentum for that release day. A really short section on the release day itself, and then I want to talk some about advertising. So where to have a presence. I'm going to call this book print houses or printers and some related places. So I'm primarily working through Amazon KDP. I have links in there. I'll try to put this somewhere where people can grab the links. The This is the primary print house that I use. I use it for ebooks, paperbacks, and hardbacks. It lets you manage series. Uh, I think it's the most common interface being used right now. On KDP, there's something called Author Central. You need to create a presence for your authorhood there. I can't remember now if you have to have a first book created and released before you create that page, but at some point you do need to create that Author Central uh, area. I'm going to recommend Ingram Spark. It's a place that publishes, well, I'm using them just for print, but you can use them for both print and ebook. What I like about them is that if you want your book to show up in stores, then Ingram Spark can sell to stores. Um, Barnes and Noble, brick and mortar can order from Ingram. Uh, Barnes and Noble Press. I actually would not recommend using them. I haven't seen any advantage to using Barnes and Noble Press. I originally thought that they would be able to sell to the Barnes and Noble brick and mortar, and so I set everything up, but in fact they cannot. The brick and mortar won't buy from them because Barnes and Noble brick and mortar requires books to be returnable. Barnes and Noble's Press does not allow you to create books that are returnable, which is why you have to use Ingram Spark uh, in order to sell to the Barnes and Noble bookstores. And then Bowker, that's a place where you order ISBNs. So these are things that you need for each of your books, for each of the printable formats, each of the places where you want to sell it. So at both Amazon and at Ingram, I have to have separate ISBNs. You need them for different ones for your hardback versus paperback. And then I also thought I'd mention ACX for audio. So if you want to create an audio book, I know there's some other places, but ACX is all that I've really looked into. Then some other places you should set up a presence. So BookBub is a place where you can advertise and sell your books. They will send out notices to your followers when you have a new book released. I think they also do that if they run a deal. I haven't had a deal through them, so I'm not really sure that that's true. Goodreads, that's closely linked to Amazon. I'm sorry. It's owned by Amazon, but it's not that closely connected. You'll find that you see roughly the same reviews on Amazon and Goodreads. Goodreads has this thing where it lets you do giveaways for your books, and I've created some links here for strategies around these giveaways, particularly with book launches. Um, I'm going to tell you my experience is that they haven't been worth it. I think that you have to have a following that's significant enough for it to matter before those start to work. But if you don't set this up, you'll never get that following going. So I do think that that will become a useful tool to me at some point. And then you need a website for yourself. Uh, Everybody says that you need a place to be able to point people. I think that if you're just starting, that footprint can be very small. So find a freebie deal somewhere and set up a small web page. And then later, if you want to do things like start selling merchandise, create a blog, other sort of complex, maybe calendar things, to consider going to Squarespace or something similar. And finally, email. It's really important to have an email presence. This email list is going to be your primary ability to track people independently of all the other sites. Um, these are folks who are going to invest enough that they're going to let you into their inbox, and that will be your most direct line of communication to them. I've listed a few here that are popular: MailChimp, MailerLite, ConvertKit. There's a few others. I use ConvertKit. I will tell you it's not geared towards authors, but more geared towards creatives that sell digital goods. So you have to sift through all of their recommendations and instructions and figure out what makes sense. That said, there are authors on it, and you can recommend each other through ConvertKit, and it does actually help grow your mailing list. Through any of those, you'll set up a landing page to collect people's email addresses. And almost all of them will recommend that you give away something for free. So be thinking about what you would do, like a short story, instructions, just something that'll get people to bite and sign up for your list. All right, this is a long section on what to do as you approach release day, talking about covers, editing, blurbs and ads, and then building momentum for that release day. Okay, covers, editing, and other prep for release. It's hard to get all of the pieces together to target a specific date. Um, I don't know what to tell you. I still fumble through this and just barely get it right each time. I pick a date that I think seems reasonable. I set it up on Amazon KDP and then work to try to get all those pieces pulled together in time. Changing the date while you're still far out. So if you're several months away and you go, oh, wait, I absolutely know I need another month because my editor got back and said that they're too busy. It's easy to push out at that point. But when you start to get a few days away, if you're really far off, it can mess things up. Covers. The old saying, don't judge a book by its cover. Everyone judges a book by its cover. So I went cheap with my first series, 4 books, and I am 100% convinced that my covers don't match my genre and it's hurt me in sales. There's all kinds of things out there to help you understand how to do good covers. I spent some time on one called Kindle Trends. I would at least recommend checking it out. I find that I have just 0 cents when it comes to making covers, and I couldn't even follow how to use Kindle Trends to make appropriate covers. So I think the information there is all relevant. It didn't help me figure my way. Um, so far, I found all of my artists on Fiverr. It hasn't been a great experience, but it is relatively cheap. So I've spent 50 to 200 bucks on different images I've needed drawn or created. And it can be very fast. The turnaround can be days. Sometimes you'll find it'll be weeks, depending on who you're working with. I recently tried using Reedsy, but the prices of the bids that I got were $900 to $12,000, and that's just too high for me. And the turnaround time also looked slower. The people on there looked pretty professional and they schedule out pretty far, and so it takes longer. I am right now looking into a place called TheRangeDoctorDesign.com. The price range looks like it's in the few hundred to $500 range. And I get the sense that they're really on top of something like the Kindle Trends data. I'm not going to say that they use Kindle Trends, but it really seemed like they knew how to create appropriate book covers, even though I say I don't have a good eye for it myself. Let's talk about editing. I have a couple slides on that. First, there's this idea of having developmental or structural editing. This is not things like fixing sentences, but it's more looking at the overall book, seeing if the pacing's right, are the stakes high enough, is the tension high enough, do you have holes in your plot? It is hard to find people that are good for this. So far, my best structural feedback has come from another indie author. Um, this go around, I'm trying paying for somebody on Reedsy to see if that's worth it or not. You obviously want to do that early in your project. You don't want to be rewriting your book right before it's supposed to go out. So give yourself time to take the feedback from a structural edit and incorporate it. And then line editing, copy editing. No one wants to read a book that has just difficult to read sentences. So misspelled words, incorrect punctuation. There's a lot more too. You can look at for things like overused words, repeated phrases, too much passive tense, sentence length. I think it is worth it to hire somebody to help with this. I was paying about $200 to $300 for 80K words. My editor charges by time, so the cleaner the book when I hand it to her, the less it costs me. I use a program called ProWriting Aid before I ever send it to my copy editor. I I like this program a lot. I would definitely recommend it. Uh, Working with it is a little clumsy because my editor wants things done in Google Docs, and the interface for ProWriting Aid in Google Docs is clunky. So you either have to send it chapter by chapter, because when you send something that's longer, then the corrections get out of sync with the text. So I have to send it a bit at a time, or convert your Google Docs to Word, do all the corrections in one place. You'll still find the interface is a little odd, and then convert it back to Google Docs. I would say you probably need to do this a month before your planned release. The line editing doesn't take that long. You more just have to worry about the conflicts that your editor might have in getting it done. All right, let's go on to blurbs and ads. So blurb is the thing that when you go to the Amazon webpage to buy a book, it's that part at the top that describes the book to you. That's the book blurb. You need something that will catch people's attention when they go to Amazon to get your book. I actually recommend that you go learn from this group called Best Page Forward. They have free courses about how to write blurbs on different types of books. Um, you'll see that the blurbs are very formulaic, but it doesn't make them easy, and it's very different than writing a book. So all the skills you put towards writing a book, they're not going to apply well for blurbs. You can pay to have Best Page Forward write one for you. I've done that once. I think it was about $200. Um, I am not 100% convinced it was worth it, that what they did was better than what I was coming up with from what I learned from their class. But it's certainly an option. And I will warn you that all of their classes are ripe with sales pitches. So if you're ahead of time going in knowing that you can't spend any money, then you've got to, be strong and just sit through those sales pitches and ignore them. I'm going to talk more about ads later, but I also want to point out that they're different than writing a book in the same way that blurbs are. The Amazon ads only allow 150 characters, so it's very short description. If you're writing your blurb, I find it sometimes a natural time to think about writing an ad or two. So maybe you'll come up with more later, but they may go together. You're writing a blurb, you think about an even more compact form for your ad. Keywords. When you enter stuff into KDP, you need to pick 7 keywords or phrases that help people find your book. I've seen a lot of descriptions of how important this is in getting people to find your book. I would again just recommend go to Best Page Forward and read about it. And then Amazon Central, I mentioned that before. When you set up your book, you also have to set up an Author Central site. I want to mention a gotcha. When you're putting your book into the KDP interface and you do an ebook, paperback, hardback, the paperback and hardback have a space to put your middle name or middle initial. The ebook does not. If you are inconsistent, then the clicks to go to your Author Central page from the website, they don't work consistently. What you have to do is, if you're going to use your middle name or middle initial, put that in the first name section for the Kindle ebook. If you do that, everything works naturally. And the instructions actually tell you that now. They didn't when I started, but apparently enough people have fumbled on it that they do mention where to put your middle name on the ebook section. Don't know why they do it differently. Strange. So, building momentum as you go towards your release day. There's a strong belief that the first 30 days on Amazon, how many clicks and sales you get, determines a lot about where Amazon places ads for your book. I can't prove that. I see other sites that say the same thing. I don't know how you would prove that. All their algorithms are internal. I wouldn't panic if you don't have some super successful launch. I think things can still grow later. I've seen that with some of my books. But your goal should still be to accumulate ratings and reviews during those first 30 days. So, one way to be ready, hit the ground running, is to have ARC readers, advanced read copies. So, these are copies that you send out to people to read ahead of time so that when the book launches, they can quickly go in and rate and review your book. So, as of my last book, Amazon, which was this year, 2024, Amazon lets you create your paperback pre release uh, and have it printed and shipped to people as author copies. So they didn't used to do that even end of the year before. That didn't work. But now you can order author copies and have them sent to people, and it'll have this band across it that says "not for resale" on the cover. So one way that you can gather people to read your book is through book tour groups. You'll find them on Instagram and Facebook. They'll arrange readers for you. Um, But if you've built up your mailing list, you will probably get enough ARC readers through the people who are following your mailing list to do that yourself. So you use your mailing list, grow your following, you tell people your next book is coming out. Is anybody interested in an ARC? And you send it out to those people. Yeah. So the idea is that you encourage them to be ready to place their ratings and reviews quickly after the book launch. A lot of those folks will actually have Instagram, Facebook, or newsletters of their own. So it works as an advertisement for you on top of that because they're going to publish it to their own people. You need to think about how you want those spaced out. Do you want them all to hit immediately after the book launches and make a big splash, or do you want to kind of trail it out over a couple weeks so that every day something's going out on Facebook and Instagram about your book? Um, Unfortunately, I think a lot of writers are introverts, and I am not terribly organized. I know there's some other people out there like that. So it is a pain to do this stuff if that's you. You have to keep poking at people, you have to keep talking to people. Uh, get past your introversion and your disorganization for a little while. So, costs, you're probably going to spend $8 to $10 per book for Amazon to send it out. If you try to get it sent to you first and sign it and send it out again, then you're going to about double that because you have to mail it twice. Time, you need to think about giving your ARC readers about a month to read your book. That's generally about what they ask. As I said before, don't forget that Goodreads giveaways are an option. So as you get close to your book launch, if you go read those links that I had earlier about Goodreads giveaways and what to do with the book launch, that can, at least in theory, amplify your early readers. So again, this is a time to overcome your introvertness, show some excitement on social media, and you are excited. You will be excited. Find ways to partner with others to talk about your book. Use Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Um, for the record, I am not any good at this. I think social media is really geared for extroverts. Okay, a quick talk about release day itself, and then on to advertising. I mentioned this before. BookBub will send an email out automatically on your release day. I can't remember if you have to enter that date separately or if they pull it directly from Amazon. I remember them pulling it from Amazon, but I might be wrong. Again, go on social media. You've got to toot your own horn about making the release. You've lined up your other people. Remind them to go toot your horn for you, so that more people hear about your release and celebrate, because it's a huge accomplishment. All these steps that you've gone through, in addition to writing the book, it's just incredible. So do something to celebrate. Have a party, smoke a brisket, climb a mountain, whatever your victory dance looks like. Now a few slides about advertising. Amazon ads. Again, I'd go back to that best page forward for learning. I put a link here for a Facebook group they have, a 5-day author ad profit challenge. I can't remember how frequently they run this. I'm going to say once a quarter. So you get in and you just follow them and do their instructions day to day and learn, and they have meetings to help talk you through it. It's really a good deal for learning how this stuff works. I have yet to make a profit following their instructions, but I feel pretty certain it's because my covers don't match my genre. So I've talked about that before and a little more in this next bullet. So BookBub ads, I've had more success with BookBub ads. I think it's because for those ads you can create your own images. So I'm not using my book cover for this ad. I'm using something that I've created that seems to appeal to people more. So this is one of my clues that my cover doesn't match my genre. And if you're where I am and you can't really afford to go pay to redo 4 book covers, then this is a good option for being able to get some sales. Facebook and Instagram. So I've generally found that I need to stay clear of spending money on Facebook, Instagram. It's a real money pit for advertising, and it's difficult to track the results, or at least so far I found it to be. If you're selling books, it's not a direct click and sale through Facebook. If you're trying to do things like grow your audience, you've got to figure out how you're going to measure where it came from. I think there's probably potential here, and I just haven't figured it out yet. Some other things to think about: Kindle back matter. That's the stuff that sits at the end of your book after they've finished it for the ebook. You could have links for people to go sign up for your email at the back. So that landing page that I talked about setting up with your email, you could have a link to that. Amazon will automatically connect your next book if you're in a series. So if someone finishes book 2 and your book 3 is out, it will just automatically push them towards book 3. But if you want to send them to a new series, I'm pretty sure you have to do that yourself. I don't think that they figure out that, one series connects to another. Um, they will have a section that's something like other books by this author, but if you specifically have an order for your series for multiple series, then I think you need to put that in yourself. Another thing I want to mention is a company called Story Origin. Uh, they allow you to set up newsletter swaps with other writers. This is a fantastic way to grow your email list, to get some more sales, to exchange books for reviews. I think this is the best value for my money of anything that I've done in terms of trying to grow. It does look like it's meant for early growth. Like there's a point where I don't think this continues to add value, but I'm nowhere near that. So I think I have a long time where this still does add value. Um, they also have stuff for reviews of audiobooks. So there's a lot of handy tools in here for being able to grow your audience, to grow your email list, sell books. Finally, some other resources. These are a couple of Facebook groups that I found useful. One is the Successful Indie Author, and the other is 20 Books to 50K. Um, both of these can be intimidating at times. You see people who've been a lot more successful than you have. Um, it can be a little depressing. On the other hand, they're often throwing in good tidbits about how they got there. So you can learn from these and learn how to grow your authoring business. Finally, I wanted to say a little bit of myself. I am an engineer by trade. I design chips, but I love writing fantasy. This is my first series, The Guardian League. I have a second series I'm working on now. The first book is out. The new series is called Thaumatropic Roots. The Guardian League is an urban fantasy series. Thaumatropic Roots is about the origin of magic and takes place as a prequel to the Guardian League, talking about how magic was formed. I hope you'll take some time to take a look at my books. Thanks.